review champs. I will not eat out. John Tony Teflon OG.
Cannons primed.
I will not eat out.
Scanning for real threats.
John Tony Teflon OG. I will not eat out. You champs. What's the deal, my people? You know it is Don Tony Teflon Mo Genie, baby. We are the review champs. My man Mo, what's going on, my brother? We got some Donald Trump stuff to set this thing off with. So Mo, let's get right into it.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Y'all know what happened. Himself, El Presidente, fired the FBI director. Now, let me give you what the story is for some of y'all that don't know or don't know the true ins and outs. President Trump on Tuesday fired the director of the FBI, James B. Comey, abruptly terminating the top official leading a criminal investigation into whether the Trump administration colluded with the Russian government to steer the outcome of a 2016 presidential election. The stunning developments in Mr. Trump's presidency raised the specter of political interference by a sitting United States president into an existing investigation by the nation's leading law enforcement agency, which is the FBI. It immediately ignited Democratic calls for a special counsel or a special prosecutor to lead the Russia inquiry. Mr. Trump explained the firing by citing Comey's handling of the investigation into the Hillary Clinton use of private email server as the reason why he fired him. He's saying basically the way that the FBI handled the Hillary Clinton investigation with past stuff like her shredding all her emails and the FBI not doing their due diligence on it is the reason why he fired him. But I don't think that's the full reason why, and we're going to get into it. Alright?
No doubt about it. You know, it just seems suspect, very suspect of what's going on with Donald Trump. And, you know, I have friends that are on the right. I have friends that are on the left. I have friends that are in the middle. So, you know, I'm going to say it straight. I'm not a big Donald Trump supporter. Obviously, I think that he has brought out a bad segment of America. Not brought them out, but made them more public, made them more emboldened. Ever since he came out. And you know, when you have, and this didn't just start with Donald Trump. I mean, when you had Sarah Palin with John McCain, they tried to touch on these rednecks and have them come out there for votes, calling people Joe Plumber and NASCAR Jim or whatever they wanted to call it. It really started back then, but he took it to the next level. And you know, now he has all these alt-right guys rocking with him, and the alt-right is nothing but the Ku Klux Klan in business suits. You know, that's basically it. You know what I mean? They got rid of the Hicks, and they got the upper class Klan men, and they call themselves the upright. And these are the people that support Donald Trump. And I hear a lot of people saying that, oh, you know, he was told, Schumer said for him to fire this guy before, and now he fires him, and now all of a sudden it's wrong. And I try to tell people the reason why it's wrong and different, what it is, the difference is that, you know, this guy, no one was under investigation. When you fire the guy who's conducting a criminal investigation against you and your people, it just looks suspect.
Absolutely, absolutely. Another statement here from the New York Times. The official White House statement on May 9th said Trump acted based on the clear recommendation of the Attorney General and Deputy Attorney General, but Trump in an interview 2 days later on the 11th said he was going to fire Comey regardless of a recommendation. Trump said the FBI had been in turmoil ever since the Hillary Clinton email scandal, and White House spokesman said the rank and file of the FBI had lost confidence in Comey, which then was rebutted by the FBI and said that is completely inaccurate and not correct, according to the acting FBI director Andrew McCabe, who said Comey was well-liked and enjoyed broad support from the rank and file of the FBI. Now, Now, let me give you my 2 cents on this. Let me harp and piggyback on what Teflon just said. Absolutely smells like fish, folks. It smells a little mushy. You're gonna fire the guy who's doing the investigating and shaking up your skeletons in your closet. Now, anybody who's ever been in a situation with corruption knows that this is the first thing somebody that's in corruption does, is to hide all the evidence and to cause confusion. What Trump is doing right now is trying to cause confusion in the FBI. If you fire Comey, you're going to have all his underlings questioning whether they should give him information on Trump because they'll be afraid that they'll be fired next. It's basic tactics. Trump is using business-like tactics right now in Washington, but this is going to fail. This is a fire that he will not be able to put out. It all started with the investigation on Russia when people found out that the other guy, I forgot his name, the one that Trump already fired before, got caught up because he had dinner, an unsanctioned dinner.
Flint, something like that.
Flynn, yeah, exactly, Flynn. His underling at the National Security Agency. They had an unsanctioned dinner with an ambassador from Russia. Now, somebody who's in a presidential cabinet position in the new administration who just got elected would never, ever, ever sit down and have dinner or any colluding with a foreign country so close after an election win. It just does not happen. You do these things maybe 4 or 5 years down the line. Okay? Now, these dudes got caught. They're trying to hide the evidence. They're trying to use the shredder. If you've seen any of the movies when dudes at businesses get caught up, if you ever saw The Wolf of Wall Street, when the FBI and the feds were coming down on them, they were shredding all the papers, getting rid of everything. That's what Trump and them are trying to do. They're trying to use business tactics in a political setting, man.
There's no doubt about it. And the thing is that I got no love for Comey. I do believe that he helped Trump win the election by coming out with the bullshit he said about Hillary Clinton with a couple of days ago before the vote to almost validate Donald Trump's bullshit story that she committed some crime. And he said this stuff right then, and then all of a sudden he said, "Oh, I have nothing." And I think that really hurt Hillary Clinton's chances of getting elected more than anything. I think that hurt, and I think that he should have went to jail for that, for directly interfering with a presidential election. Next, I'm going to say that Donald Trump, this is a man who was screaming, "Oh, lock her up about Hillary Clinton," and now he wants to come to the defense of Hillary Clinton and said, "Oh, Comey handled it wrong. He shouldn't have handled it like that, so I got to get rid of him." You didn't give a fuck about Hillary Clinton. This is just some bullshit. It's a bullshit tactic that he's using. And this is the whole thing. And I think people don't really realize it. I've said this from day one. The Republican Party does not like Donald Trump. They don't want him there. This is a coup. They're going to let him hang himself with his own rope. They hope he gets impeached because they want Pence. That's their guy. That guy is Pence. And if they can get Trump to do something stupid, and it seems like he already did do something stupid, Trump won't go to jail. Mike Pence will pardon him, but then they'll get Pence as their president, the person they always wanted. They may bring Mitt Romney as his VP. Trust me, they don't want Donald Trump there. They don't like him. They're just letting him hang himself, and that's what's going on here.
Definitely letting him hang himself. And Comey was doomed no matter what. Had Hillary Clinton won the election, she would have immediately fired him for trying to sabotage her election by dropping the investigation. Now, since she didn't win, and he actually helped Trump by having the American public go against Hillary, then you would think that he would keep his job, right? Because they're buddy-buddy. Hey, Trump, I just helped you get elected. You're not going to do anything to me. Because Comey should absolutely been reprimanded for what he did to Hillary. That is not something you do during an election. That is absolutely like the beginnings of corruption. If you are letting her skeletons out the closet while she's about to get voted in by the American public, and you're going to slander her, you should definitely be reprimanded. But who's going to reprimand him? The man's the head of the FBI. So who's going to do it? The only person that can do it is whoever gets elected president. Now, is Trump going to reprimand him for helping him get into the presidency? Of course not. But now, Comey never thought he would get fired for what he did to help Trump. Now, this is going to be the beginning of the end for Trump. Comey was his man.
And Comey's, I guarantee he's got the goods. He knows what's going on with the investigation. He can just have an interview somewhere with someone. He's a public citizen now. And he can spill the beans if he chooses, if it's not, depending on how top secret or whatever, it's classified or whatever. But if it's not, he could spill the beans on stuff and talk about the investigation and talk about everything else. Donald Trump's definitely, there's no doubt that he was down with Russia, now whether, people want to say, oh, he didn't know about it, listen, there was no doubt that Russia was trying to get him elected. There's no doubt in my mind that Donald Trump knew what was going on, and he allowed it to go on. This is the guy who was like, I love WikiLeaks, I love them. He knew what was going on. He knew what it was. But I think, when you hear Donald Trump's statement when he says, being president is a lot harder than I thought. I knew it would be hard, but I didn't think it would be this hard. I miss my old life. I liked my old life. It's a guy who just wanted to win for the sake of winning. He didn't want to be president. It just got out of hand. And he actually won it. Now he is the president. And I think all this stuff is you see how much gray hair Barack Obama got in his presidency. What do you think is going to happen to Donald Trump? It's a stressful position to run. You see a lot of stuff that we don't know about foreign countries and always under attack, this, that, and the other. A lot of shit to process all the time. And I think he just got in over his head. And why wouldn't he want to go back to his old lifestyle? Back then, when he wasn't president, he was liked by a lot of people. He's a billionaire. He gets to wake up when he wants to wake up. He gets to eat whatever he wants to eat. He goes to his Mar-a-Lago club that looks better than the goddamn White House. He plays golf whenever he wants to play golf. He has sex with his beautiful wife whenever he wants to. Now he's on a schedule. People hate him. And all this, he's not used to this.
And he has to actually do work. You're the president of a country. This isn't something where you can go on vacation to Mar-a-Lago to your country club every weekend, which he now does anyway, and the American public has to pay with their tax dollars for his little vacations, which in the end are just gonna be more and more scarlet letters on his record when people look back at this presidency. This is being compared to the Nixon scandal. This is being compared to Watergate. If you don't know what Watergate was in 1978 or 76, whichever date, I can't remember right now, Richard Nixon, before the election that he was going to have with Jimmy Carter or whoever was running against him at that time, went and bugged the Democratic offices of whoever he was running against so he could get information on them. He was using tactics that law enforcement used against the mob in a political setting. He got caught. He got caught because the dudes that he sent in there to get the tapes snitched on him, and he got impeached. And right now, they're comparing it to what Trump did by firing Comey.
They don't call him Tricky Dick for nothing, you know what I mean? But it's that damn Donald Trump. I feel bad for the guy, kind of, because I really don't think he realizes what type of puppet he really is. And I really don't think that he realizes that, he just wants to be liked, and he can't be liked. It's impossible now. You know what I mean? He's already drawn lines in the sand against black people, Spanish people, all people of color, and I don't think that's really who he was when he came into it. But I think he just used it to get himself elected, and now he's stuck in this hole. And as I said, he used probably the Republican Party is probably the people that suckered him into getting help from Russia, knowing that he'd get caught eventually and they can get his ass out of there, because believe me, they made that Pence pick for a reason. They made him take Pence for a reason over who he wanted to pick. That was not his decision. I guarantee it in the end. It was not his decision. It was to get the Republican Party on their side. They knew they wanted Pence. They want President Pence. So they do not give a fuck what happens to Donald Trump. I guarantee it. And this is the beginning of the end for Donald Trump. You'll see him fall, and you'll see Mike Pence become the new president of the United States.
He got way over his head. He had no idea what becoming president of the United States actually entailed. This isn't like becoming president of a small nation. You know, this isn't like being president of Mozambique. You got access to so many documents and classified information as a president of the United States. You got weapons. You got your finger on the red button trigger that can send missiles to any country in the world. You could create so much instabilization in the world economy. It's just, he had no idea what he was doing. This guy he's a good businessman. I'm not going to, not give him his due.
Yeah, he's decent. I'm saying
he has four bankruptcies, yes, but at the end of the day, he's a billionaire for a reason, or close to a billionaire.
Is he a billionaire? I don't know if he's really a billionaire. I think that's why he doesn't want to show his taxes, is because he truly isn't a billionaire. I mean, he's got more money than us, you know what I mean? Probably more money than we'll ever see, but you know what I mean? But I don't think he's that billionaire.
At the end of the day, yes, he got helped by his father by giving him $1 million loan in 1972.
It was like 14 million, I think.
I mean, in the books, it's $1 million. I just read this like recently.
He's lying.
It probably would be more, but at the end of the day, he did what he did, and I guarantee he never in his life thought he would be in this position, and that's why he's going to slip up and trip up. People that become president of the United States have had some sort of background in politics. They either become a governor, they become a House representative, they become a senator, anything to prepare them for what politics entails. This guy has not a damn clue, not a bit of anything.
This is a guy who was a fucking Democrat his whole fucking life.
Exactly.
He was a Democrat his whole life. His whole life until Barack Obama, a black man, won the presidency. All of a sudden, he switched over to becoming Republican. That's the only thing that made him go Republican. It's because a black man won it, and he was mad about it. That's why he was the head of this whole birther shit. You know what I mean? He was the head of it. Oh, he's not from this country. Oh, he's a Muslim. He's this, that. Because he was mad that a black man was president. And I tell you, the state of America, and I tell people all the time that this is the deal, man. These guys, no matter if he's black or not, they rather see a man president than a woman president.
Period. Oh, for sure.
They don't want a woman holding it down. A white woman, nothing. Remember, black man got the right to vote before the white woman.
I mean, this is why at the end Hillary Clinton didn't win. Even though Trump was a horrible candidate in most regards, and every newspaper in the country had Hillary beating him by 4 and 5 and 7 points. At the end of the day, the John Does of this country could not see a woman president, so they voted for Trump anyway because they just couldn't do it. They couldn't put on a ballot that they voted for a woman.
Nope, and it's their own fault, the Democratic Party, because they fucked Bernie Sanders, and Bernie Sanders would have beat his ass easy. Easy.
Landslide. It would have been a landslide.
He would have beat him easy. And the Democratic Party fucked Bernie Sanders from getting the nomination, so they get what they get. You know what I mean? For doing that to Bernie, because Hillary Clinton felt that Barack Obama jumped his turn in line. She felt that it was her turn back then to become president, and Barack Obama jumped his turn. He jumped the stand, and that's why they got all upset with him. You gotta remember, it was the Clintons who said a lot of bad shit about Barack Obama in the campaign. They brought a lot of that shit up too, you know what I mean? Yep. So they ain't, this is the lady who said that, called black people super predators that need to be brought to heel, So they ain't innocent either. None of these politicians are innocent, but that's the way it is. I guarantee it. Quote the Don. We pull the strings. You will see President Pence before this year is over.
And you know what the Republicans did? I think they call it a straw man. Trump is the straw man. He's the fall guy. He's absolutely the fall guy so that Pence becomes the new president. They wanted Trump to hang himself with the rope. They gave him the rope by not giving him the details on you cannot have, meetings with a foreign agency, especially a foreign agency that is Russia connected.
They set him up.
They set him up. They let him hang himself because Trump is a fool and he doesn't understand politics. This is where it comes back again to you either become a senator, a House representative, or something, a governor, to become president because you would know the nuances of Washington. Believe me, I live in D.C. I live in the D.C. area. I know, we all know how these dudes move in the city. You cannot have relations with a foreign agency. They gave him the rope. Trump hung himself, and now he's swimming. He's drowning. And the only thing he could grasp at was firing Comey because he's the guy that's investigating. He thinks that if I fire the guy that's investigating me, all this will go away. No. Now you got a whole agency pissed off. The whole FBI and all his people are pissed off, and they're going to drop the dime on you. They're going to drop a dime on you.
It's like he is nothing more than a lightning rod on top of the building to take the hits. Mm-hmm. That's it. When you have him with the mafia term, we make the guy. It's like, you've seen The Sopranos. You see how Tony did it. Tony let Junior believe he was the boss.
Yep.
But everyone behind the scenes knew Tony was calling the shots and he was the real boss. But as far as the media was concerned, as far as anyone was concerned,
the feds
was Junior.
The feds
it was Junior. Yep, Junior was the boss. But that's what he was, a lightning rod to take the hits from Tony. Trump is just that lightning rod, and I feel bad for him because he's so stupid he doesn't see it coming. And you should be able to see this coming a mile away. But I think, and I'll tell you, he's tired. He don't want to do it no more. So I think he'll welcome it in the end because he's not going to jail. They'll pardon him, and they'll say it would hurt the American people too much to put a president in jail. Same thing they said with Nixon. And they'll pardon him and they'll get him out of there. And that's what Pence will do. And he won't go to jail, but they'll get him out of there. He helped them take the White House back. That's what they wanted. Because bottom line is, none of those guys that were running would have beat Hillary Clinton. None of them. Now, none of those. Jeb Bush would have fell. Rubio would have fell. Ted Cruz is too ugly to be president. He's way too ugly. You can't have that mug and be president of the United States. It's impossible. There's no way. So they needed Trump to win it, and he did it. And now it's time to get rid of you, and that's it. And I'm telling you, they probably are the ones who tell them, hey, don't worry with Russia. It's okay to do that. It's okay to do that. And he let them do it, and they knew, all right, now we got his ass. Now let's get him out of here. And that's it. And they knew what the Democrats would do once they found that shit out. Same thing that's going to happen.
I think me and you could run in 2020 because I don't think the Republicans have a chance in 2020. Anybody can run in that election for the Democratic Party, and they're probably going to take it, with both hands. Probably.
Well, Pence, it depends who's Pence's running mate. Like, if Mitt Romney gets back involved, he's a two-time loser, but if he gets back involved, Pence and Romney, but I think Romney's too alpha male to be vice president. Maybe he would take it from Pence, but I don't know. Romney may be too alpha male to take a vice presidency.
He's the Bob Dole of our generation, right?
Yeah,
two-time loser.
Yeah. So, but he may. It depends. It all depends who the Democrats put up. If the whole thing the Democrats when Bernie Sanders supporters seen what the DNC did to Bernie Sanders, and they didn't go out and vote for Hillary. And no matter what Bernie Sanders told his supporters to do, they're not going to do it, and they didn't do it. And I think that hurt it because they knew what they did. They wanted real change, and they knew Bernie Sanders would bring real change. Listen, if Bernie Sanders is healthy and he runs again, he's the next president of the United States. I guarantee it. He'll win it, and he'll win it by a landslide if he gets it. No doubt about it. That support he was garnering, that was a Barack Obama type following that started coming for him. A true grassroots following. And you couldn't out-debate him. There was no one that could out-debate him. He was out-talking everybody. There was nothing they could do to him out-debate him. You know what I mean? When you have Donald Trump on stage with Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump's a tall man, you know? And when you're tall and you see him standing behind Hillary Clinton, leaning over her, he just looks like an authoritative figure. You know, people aren't voting for that little girl. They're not going to vote for him. That's the way these American people think. And that's exactly what happened. That's why he's in the presidency. But as I said before, and I'll say it again, President Pence before this year concludes. Guaranteed. Review Champs Round 2. Anthony Joshua versus Vladimir Klitschko.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. This was a heavyweight bout for the ages, folks. We hadn't seen one like this in a long time. Anthony Joshua versus Vladimir Klitschko was a professional boxing match contested by these two on April 29th, 2017 at Wembley Stadium in London, England. The score for this, the winner took the vacant WBA Super title. Joshua's IBF title was up for grabs, and the IBO heavyweight title was also on the line. Anthony Joshua won the fight by technical knockout in the 11th round. The records coming into the fight was 17-0 for Anthony Joshua and 64-3 for Vladimir Klitschko. Now, man, we haven't seen a good heavyweight fight in the longest. And both these dudes come in at 6 foot 6 inches. Both of them in and around 250 pounds. Both are orthodox fighters. And this was a clash of the titans. If you've ever seen Anthony Joshua, the dude looks like a Greek god. If you've seen the way he's built, it's immaculate. I thought I'd never see somebody come out of England bigger than Lennox Lewis. This dude is sculpted.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And listen, you know, I love boxing. Big boxing fan. My number one sport. When I heard about the fight, I was excited about the fight. Anthony Joshua doesn't have a lot of fights. Everyone he's fought, he's knocked out. Going into this fight, the question was, would Vladimir, not Vitaly, sorry, it's his brother, would his age be a factor, or would his experience be a factor? And it turned out that it was his experience that was a factor. Now, this was a fight as good as, it's just about as good as Holyfield Bowe, but it would remind you of a fight like that. And we haven't seen a heavyweight fight like that. I'm talking where both guys get knocked down. And I thought, initially when the fight was going on, that after seeing Vladimir versus Tyson Fury and how terrible he looked, seeing him in the fight before, he didn't look good. I didn't think he would last 2 rounds with Joshua. I thought that Joshua would just rush him and knock him out and get him out of there, because we know Klitschko has no chin. But I think that Joshua fought the fight, too much respect he gave to Klitschko. He didn't charge right in. He stayed back. He jabs with him. He blocks with him. And eventually, by doing that, he got caught with a big right hand, got put on his ass. And then when he gets knocked down, I think that Klitschko didn't press the action hard enough to try to get him out of there. And he allowed Joshua to recover. And after Joshua recovered, he comes back and he knocks out Klitschko. Probably one of the biggest uppercuts that he landed, I've ever seen land in heavyweight history. He hit this guy with horrendous uppercut he landed on him. But I'll tell you, I have more, Klitschko reigned for very many years. And out of all those fights I've ever seen him in, I have more respect for him losing this fight than I ever did for any fight that he ever won. That's how much more I respect I give him for this fight. That's how much I thought that this fight was good. And I tell you, if you put Klitschko in there with just about any other heavyweight right now and he fights like that, he could still beat at almost any other heavyweight out there right now fighting like that, and there's no doubt about it. Great fight. There's a rematch clause in there. Don't know if Klitschko is going to take the rematch clause or just retire. I would like to see him take it personally myself, but it's not fair, because we know that Joshua, he has contenders lined up for him. There's a big fight waiting for him with Deontay Wilder for a unification bout. That's a big fight. And we have King Kong Ortiz, who may be the most avoided heavyweight in the heavyweight division because he's a tough out for anybody, and he really isn't known. So it's really a no-win situation. I mean, it's just you're not going to make a lot of money in the fight, and there's a good potential that you can be knocked out by King Ortiz. And he is the number one contender for Anthony Joshua. And it's fucked up for him because he's getting ducked, and he's been ducked, and he's sitting here waiting for his turn. And he deserves his shot to get it. But there's a fact that he's not known. He's not a marketable name, and he's too dangerous. All leads up to the fact that people are just going to avoid him because it's not enough pay for win in it. Anthony Joshua has a chance right now to be the biggest star in all of sports. And that's every sport there is, not just boxing. Because the heavyweight champion of the world is still, to me, the biggest title you can have in all of sports. And when it's held down by someone with knockout power, you could be the next Mike Tyson. You look at all these other sport athletes. You can look at them all. Michael Jordan was very popular. Not saying he wasn't. Michael Jordan, but when Tyson was in his prime, Tyson was Tyson. Tyson was just as big, if not bigger, than Michael Jordan. Period. I mean, there's a lot of kids that were named Jordan, but there's just as many kids that were named Tyson, if not more. You know what I mean? Because of Iron Mike. And when you have that heavyweight strap around your waist, Mike Tyson was fighting. He was making, back in the day, he was making $30 to $35 million a fight. Way back then. That's what Floyd Mayweather was making in his fights today. So if you put that, you put inflation on that right now, Mike Tyson would be making much more money than Floyd Mayweather's making if he was fighting.
Mike Tyson had a video game named after him. I don't think he had Mike Tyson's Punch Out on NES. I don't think Floyd Mayweather's got anything like that.
No,
he
doesn't.
I mean, Mike Tyson was bigger than, sliced bread. Mike Tyson was bigger than U.S. Steel at one point. Mike Tyson was Mike Tyson, Iron Mike. I think the 80s was some of probably the greatest era for boxing. Roberto Duran, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hitman. You just keep going. Mike. Oh man, I mean, it just, the list goes on and on. Even Dooku Kim, Ray Boom Boom Mancini. I mean, up and down the divisions in boxing were just amazing. From the littlest guys to the biggest, it was just.
Yep, and it was great. And when you get there to the mid 80s, early 80s, and you get to early 90s, mid 80s, and you get Mike Tyson comes in there. Mike Tyson was the hip-hop boxer. He was a guy who listened to rap music. He was the, Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas the Hitman Hearns, and these guys, you could look at it, that was the afro to the Jerry curl boxer. You know what I mean? That's what the black people were rocking back then. When Mike Tyson came, it was the fade. You know what I mean? He brought the flat top era, was coming around there. The Gumby era, that was coming out there with Mike Tyson. He was the hip hop dude, you know what I mean? Listening to rap music. He just took the world by storm. Anthony Joshua has the ability to be that. And even better than that. Because the whole thing of Mike Tyson, people are scared of Mike Tyson. No one's afraid of Anthony Joshua. He's such a likable guy. He's got that. He can be bigger than Tyson for that reason. He's such a likable guy. He's got the look. The ladies like him. He could talk proper. He's got a good speech etiquette. You know what I mean? He can go beyond that if he keeps winning. But it's like he had a lot of fights early. He only has 19 fights now. That's so little. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So little. And, people usually don't get a title shot till like your 25th fight. He's already won the heavyweight championship with 19 fights. So
it's
he's
so
got
funny.
a couple of big fights.
It's so funny because he reminds me of Dudley from Street Fighter when they added because Balrog was already there, and Balrog was supposed to resemble Mike Tyson.
Well, if you look at the way it was originally made, the Street Fighter game. M. Bison was Balrog's name for Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
And then they switched it because everyone caught on to it. and they made the boss M. Bison. But M. Bison was Balrog's official name, and Balrog was M. Bison's name. And they switched the names because it was too similar. People caught on that it was Mike Tyson.
Exactly. That's old school, video game knowledge right there. And then later on, when it got to Street Fighter 2 Alpha or Street Fighter 3 Alpha, when it got to the PS1, they introduced a new character named Dudley, and he was an old-timey boxer from England. And, that's how Anthony Joshua reminds me, man. He's old-timey, but he's swolio. This dude's big, and his punches are hard. Some of the biggest punches in the game, George Foreman, Smoking Joe Frazier. I think Anthony Joshua is climbing into that category for heavy-hitting heavyweights.
So when you talk about boxing, so the hardest hitting boxer in heavyweight history, I think if you ask a lot of historians, they'll all tell you Ernie Shavers is probably the hardest hitting puncher of all time. Number 2 would probably be George Foreman. Right after that, Mike Tyson's a little bit down. So when you talk about it, to me, it's like it's punching. Deontay Wilder is the hardest punching boxer right now. With these guys, Ernie Shavers, George Foreman, Deontay Wilder right now, Anthony Joshua's close, but these guys, they hit you one time, the fight's over, and they don't have to accumulate punches. They don't have to do that. It just hits you once. One time, solid. Fight's over.
They don't have to run up the scoreboard. They don't got to run up the scoreboard on you.
They could lose every round. They could lose every second of every round. Hit you one time and knock your ass out. George Foreman, I met this motherfucker, George Foreman. When I met him, his fingers are like bananas. And I'm not bullshitting you. I know people don't know it. Listen, his finger is like a banana. His one finger is like 2 regular human being fingers.
Didn't they say a closed fist looked like a ham? One of his closed fists looked like a straight ham.
In the Boxing Hall of Fame, when they do it, when you get inducted, they take a fist cast of your fist. That's how they put it, and that's what they leave in the Hall of Fame. George Foreman has the biggest fist in the Boxing Hall of Fame out of everybody's cast. It's not even close.
Wow.
It's his hands are just so big. The funny thing is that Ernie Shavers was the hardest hitter of all time, and George Foreman was supposed to fight and never fought. And they were both at the Hall of Fame at the time. And Ernie Shavers was giving an interview, and I was in the crowd, and I screamed out. I said, "Hey, Ernie, why'd you duck George?" And he spun his head around so fast and said, "Who said that? Who said that? 5 times George backed out the contract. 5 times he backed out. You go ask George about that. Go ask him about that." He was really upset.
And that tells you it was probably the truth. If somebody gets that mad about it, it's probably the truth.
Yeah, because that's money. That's a big money fight. You know what I mean? And these guys back then, they didn't make that much money. You needed each other to fight. So if he had a contract to fight George Foreman 5 times and backed out, that's 5 different paydays he missed out on. You know what I mean? So it's all about it. He was still, these guys, when you go to Hall of Fame, they still hold some of these grudges, man. Like Marvelous Hagler still don't really like Sugar Ray Leonard. He don't like him for not giving him that rematch. They hold, they're fighting each other. That's what people, they're fighting. It's not like they're playing a basketball sport. They're getting into a fight with each other.
Yeah, the thing that was really messed up about that Hagler-Leonard rematch is Hagler gave him the match because of public pressure. Every time during his training bouts in the fight before he fought Sugar Ray the first time, and reporters would be at the training camp like, "So when are you going to fight Sugar Ray Leonard? When are you going to do him, Marvin? Are you running? Why aren't you fighting him? Set up the fight, Marvin." And Marvin's just sitting there like, I don't have to fight this guy. I'm the champion. I'm the champ. And he felt like he wasn't getting, respect. So he finally gives Sugar Ray the fight. We all know what happened, and then Sugar Ray wouldn't give him the fight after. So
yeah, it's his own fault. Marvelous Marvin. I love Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Met him a million times. Met his wife. Ate dinner with them. Loved them both. But in all honesty, I think it's his fault. That fight, he should have won that fight easy. And I think it's his fault because he wanted to go in there and show the world I'm a better boxer than Sugar Ray, and he wanted to dance around and box with him when he should have just charged him like a bear, pushed him in the corner, and beat his ass.
His ego got to him. His ego got to him.
That's what he should have done. He just went in there and roughhoused him, been dirty with him, elbowed him, just got him out, headbutted him, got him, beat him up. But instead, he wanted to try to box pretty and jog around with him. Oh, I can box just as good as you, Sugar Ray. And he should have never fell into that trap. That's his own fault. But Joshua had... See, and that gives you two different styles of fighters right there. You have Sugar Ray Leonard, the golden boy of boxing. Just like Oscar De La Hoya, the pretty boys. Joshua is that mold. You know, he can be that big as those guys. Mm-hmm. You know, because he has that look. And he can do that. He can do things in order to be that part of boxing, you have to be able to transition from your sport into other sports. You know what I mean?
Mainstream.
You have to be able, yes, you have to be able to do different things, commercials, interviews on talk shows. And Joshua's that type of guy that people are gonna want to see him on the talk shows. All these ladies in the United States see this black man with this English accent up there, you know, better looking than Idris Elba, big ass body up there. He could be on Regis and I'm not Regis, but he could be on with Kathy Lee and Hoda, you know, cutting up fruit in the kitchen with or Rachel Ray. You know, they'll want to see him doing all that type stuff. He's got that look to do those things, and when you do that and you get the women found, you know all that, then they start showing up to your bouts. It's nothing but money for you.
I think he's
star in all the sports.
I think he is primed to transition into the American market better than Lennox Lewis ever did coming out of England. Better than, you know, Hatton could ever do. You know, they always were hoping Hatton, you know, he was the white boy coming out of England, you know, but Joshua looks like he could pull off that Drake type of thing, you know what I mean? And just come into the American market and kill it, you know?
He can. He will.
I wouldn't be surprised if Don King, you know, scoops him up and puts, or De La Hoya takes him into
they'll never get him because Eddie Hearn's got his hooks into him, and he's not going to leave Eddie Hearn. And that's Eddie Hearn's money right there. You know, the only problem I see with him when we look for future bouts coming up is really Deontay Wilder. I mean, that's a tough. I think Luis Ortiz is a really tough bout for anybody, but I would still favor him to win that fight. But it would be the Deontay Wilder fight. I mean, that would be the biggest fight in boxing history for a long time. Not the whole history of sports, but it could if promoted right, and if it has time to build up a little more, it could be the heavyweight Mayweather Pacquiao fight. Mm-hmm. If they're both undefeated, because the thing is, when you come to boxing, there's a title that you get in boxing: undisputed, undefeated. Mike Tyson was the last undisputed, undefeated champion in heavyweight boxing. In fact, maybe in all of boxing, there hasn't been anyone else that's been there. That means that you have every belt and you've never lost. That's what undisputed, undefeated means. Mike Tyson was the last person to hold that. I know for a fact in heavyweight, maybe in every other division too, that held every belt and was still undefeated. If it comes down to that, between him and Deontay Wilder, and everything is on the line, that title, every belt, and the undisputed, undefeated heavyweight champion of the world, when that is on the line, this could be Pacquiao Mayweather-ish. And it would be someone's going to get knocked out, too, in this fight. It's no way for that fight to go the distance. Deontay Wilder hits too hard. Only one person, Bermane Stiverne, has survived all rounds with him. And no one has survived all the fights with Joshua. But he only has 19 fights. Deontay has like 30-something. You know what I mean? So the power is there on both of them. And I think it would just be, that would be the fight. Especially if they held it somewhere like in, you know, I think they would want to do it in Wembley over there, and because you can get so many in that stadium. But it'd be too big not to hold in Vegas, I think. I think you'd have to put that fight in Vegas.
If they want to transition to the American market, I think the next fight needs to be in Vegas or Atlantic City. They got to do it big on the next one.
It's got to be, because that's when you, because the whole thing is, the reason why a lot of fights don't come to the United States and all that is because, I mean, anywhere else, is because they like to have the gamblers there, you know. So you put it in Vegas and you make the seats limited, then you're charging $10,000 a ticket, $20,000 a ticket. You know what I mean? And then that's it. And that you rather now Wembley, you may hold 100,000 people in there, but you're probably selling a lot of them tickets for $20. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
These tickets, you're gonna get that Wembley money as much, but it's gonna be in big lumps. And when you get the $20,000, $30,000 tickets, only celebrities. So that means the whole front row is filled. The whole place is filled with straight celebrities. You know what I mean? All Hollywood stars, all that. The casual fan ain't getting in there to see it. And that's even brings more cachet. When Muhammad Ali fought, I remember when he lost to Joe Frazier.
Everybody was in the building. Everybody.
Yeah. And they said when he came to the dressing room, you know, I forgot who it was, went to the dressing room. They go to the dressing room, they see Muhammad sitting there, and there's a woman on his lap. Just sitting crying on her knees, crying in Muhammad's lap, and he looked up in the face, and it was Diana Ross.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that is? That's the equivalent of Beyonce on her knees crying in your lap.
Yep.
That's what that is, and that's what Muhammad Ali was. You know what I mean?
Frank Lucas was in the front seat. You know, Billy Crystal. You know,
you had Frank Sinatra shooting the photos for Time magazine. This is what it was, Time of Life.
Life magazine, because I got I got the Life magazine at my house. I just ordered it off eBay like 2 months ago of when Frank Sinatra was the official cameraman for the Muhammad Ali Sonny Liston the Sugar Ray Leonard Carmine Basilio fight.
No, it was the Muhammad Ali.
He did that later. He did that later as well. But his first time being official cameraman for Life magazine,
Sugar Ray Robinson
was the Robinson Basilio #1 fight. I got it right here, April 7th, 1958. Frank Sinatra.
I met Carmen Basilio 1,000 times. I knew him very well. In fact, the reason why the Boxing Hall of Fame is in Canastota was because that's where Carmen Basilio was from. So he would be out there every year, and I met him and his wife, and he as an old man, when you go get an autograph from him, and you would hand him the glove, he would take the glove out of your hand and smack you in the face with it, and then sign you the autograph. And he was quick, like he'd throw jabs at you, and that jab would get to your face quick, man. It would get there as an old man, you know. That's just these guys.
God rest his soul, man. These were true gentlemen of the game. They were true gents.
Listen, these guys were like Mad Men, like on TV when you see that Mad Men mentality.
That was them.
That's truly what they were. Like he, looked at girls as dolls, and if he seen a girl walk by, he just smacked her in the ass because he felt like it. You know what I mean? He just didn't care that he was really from that generation. He was stuck in that time period, and that's what it was. Him, Jake LaMotta, I think is the only one still alive out of that whole group right there. Only a couple of people that were able to beat Sugar Ray Robinson, and he was one of them. Jake LaMotta was one of them. Gene Fulmer was another one. Even though Sugar Ray Robinson beat them 2 out of 3, they at least got. That's how great Sugar Ray Robinson was. That really their claim to fame is that they were able to beat him 1 time out of 3 fights.
Yeah, and that was a time period where dudes were fighting 2, 3, maybe 4 times in a year.
In a month. I mean, they would fight. I mean, Sugar Ray Robinson would fight in the beginning of the month and fight before the month was over. Have the rematch in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And you got to look. These guys fought all 15-round fights, and smoking was allowed in all the venues. So it was smoke throughout the room. 15-round fights. They'd fight sometimes twice a month, 3 times a month, if so. And it was a different breed of fighter back then than these guys that are coddled today.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Before we get off topic, all right. I think y'all got the point. Anthony Joshua fight was amazing. Make sure if you did not see it, make sure you catch it. The Anthony Joshua Klitschko 1 fight It was something special. Check it out, folks.
Definitely. Review champs, round 3. Funkmaster Flex dissing Tupac.
All right, folks. This is the last topic we're doing. This is something serious. We saved this for the end. We got some big stuff to talk about in the hip-hop world right now. Funkmaster Flex, you know who he is, DJ up at Hot 97 in New York City, came out and was dissing the legend himself, Tupac Shakur. This man believes that Tupac actually shot himself at that fateful day at the Quad Studios in the mid-90s. He doesn't believe that Tupac was jumped. If you all remember, Tupac actually believed that Biggie sent hitmen to come get him and to ice him up. Tupac fortunately survived the attack. And Funkmaster Flex is hurting old wounds here. You know, Tupac Shakur, a legend in hip-hop. You know, most people will never say a bad word about him. You know, and for Funk Flex, a DJ, this guy's got such an ego to think that he could talk about the man Tupac himself, a DJ, you know, to talk about Tupac is just unfathomable to me. It's ridiculous. What do you think of this controversy, Teflon?
All right, so I got a lot of, you know, inside information on this thing. Now, number one, on Tupac's situation. Now, Tupac is related to me by marriage. My stepfather, Roy Steffens, was, because his mom passed away, rest her soul, Afeni's first cousin. My mother was good friends with Afeni. We did not call her Afeni. And in fact, no one in the family did call her Afeni. We all called her by her real name, which was Faye. She was supposed to build a house in Lumberton, North Carolina, by my mother's house over there. But what happened was that when she was down there, she was getting marijuana sent to her, and she got bagged up by the cops. And so that's why she moved back to California, because she didn't like that, the way they had hit her like that. So I know her very well. My mom went to Tupac's funeral. I was supposed to meet him at the family reunion that year. I would have met him that year, but he got shot, and the family reunion got changed to a funeral. As I always said, that my life would have been different if I would have definitely met him, because I had no doubt that we would have definitely got along. His mom already knew that I was rapping. My mother had told him about him. He was looking forward to meeting me and everything else. You know, I probably would have been down with him at the time. You know, I think we would have had a lot in common. And that's that. Now, Quad Studios, I've been there many a times. To the people, my friends, the Bleach Brothers, who were Q Drew at one time. They were signed to Mystic Records. They're on the Terror Squad album, the last song, www.that'smyshit.com, with 666 and Fat Joe. You can check them out. They were signed to Mystic Records. They would have, on Big Pun's record label, they would have been out with them if Pun didn't pass away. So that's why I've been to Quad Studio. What had happened when Tupac went there was two people that knew Tupac was coming in the town. Number one person, Tupac was coming in to do a song with Red Hot Lover Tone. I had beef with Red Hot Lover Tone. He was out of Jamaica, Queens. My friend Jermaine knew him. And I was, at the time, was going by the name Ruthless Lover Tone. He didn't like the fact that I had that name, Ruthless Lover Tone. I was supposed to battle him for the name itself, Lover Tone. It never happened, but that was supposed to happen. So Tupac was coming in to do a joint with him. And he knew that Tupac was coming to that studio. And Biggie knew that he was coming to that studio. So that's why Pac was like, I don't think that Tone would have got me shot up. There's only one other person that knew I was coming out there. So it had to be Big and them and Puff who set me up on this. Now, it's either that or dudes just knew this was a studio that rappers frequented, and they were just waiting outside to rob somebody. Which, when you go to that studio,
that's pretty much the theory on what happened. This was a very popular studio in New York City. It was near Times Square. You know,
when you go to this studio, when you're at Quad Studio and you go inside, it's a little alleyway to the left that leads up to that one elevator that's there. There's no escape for anyone. If you're gonna get it, you're gonna get it right there. I remember being in that studio with my friend the Bleach Brothers and recording, and an old dirty bastard just popped his head into our session when they were in there and said straight up, he was like, "Hey, don't mind me, fellas. I'm just looking for ideas," and we threw his ass out. But that's what it is. You know what I mean? That's the way. That's how many people that was whatever you consider a celebrity at the time, rapper, would frequent these studios and stuff. They would just pop in. They would just pop up, We didn't invite this motherfucker in. He just popped his head in there. You know what I mean? And that's what it was. So was it a possibility that people were just out there waiting and lurking, waiting for somebody? Me personally, I'm going to tell you personally, my personal opinion is no. I think that Puff and them set that dude up. There's no doubt in my mind.
So you do believe that Biggie and them did it? What Tupac was claiming?
Of course they did. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's just the facts. The facts lead up to it. Now, listen, I'm gonna tell you. I opened for Fuzz Bubble, all right, which was Puff Daddy's rock and roll group. All right, there was talks when I was signed to Smokey Recordings to take me and push me to Bad Boy. They were in negotiations. They wanted to get that done. So I had opened for Fuzz Bubble in Utica. It was like a sort of an audition, and they were going to tape that and send that in to Puff. And I know that people look at Puff and they see this guy dancing, and you see his haircut and it's all slicked back or whatever, and he's a good-looking dude dancing around. Puff is gangster, man. Don't let that fucking dancing shit fool you, man. You know what I mean? I've heard stories, yes, from Fuzz Bubble, when they were around this dude on the basketball court, of Puff beating niggas' ass on the basketball court over a basketball game. Puff is gangster. Don't think he's not. You know what I mean? Don't think he's this smiley guy, yada, yada, yada. That's why all the rappers he signed were gangster rappers. Because that's what he was. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yes, he had the flashy suits with mace and the rollies in the sky waving side to side and all this shit. But on the inside, what he truly was a hustler and a gangster. Straight up, you know what I mean? Just with a pretty face. So don't think that he wouldn't have paid somebody to rob this dude. Now, did it go too far? Maybe it was just a robbery that was supposed to happen, and the dudes went too far and put some bullets in him. You know what I mean? Maybe it was something like that. You know what I mean? But knowing, not that I know Puff, I don't know him, never met him, anything like that. Going off the stories that I know of people who have met him and everything else. From everything I heard, from knowing the situation, the people who knew he was going to that fucking studio at that time. There's no way Lovatone had anything to do with that, because he was going to rock with him. It was definitely, it had no doubt. I just can't believe that dudes was just, because back then, you knew niggas was rocking chunk jewels. You know what I mean? That was still the era of the chunk jewels. You know what I mean? Where it went from Run DMC's big rope chains to Slick Rick with the chunk jewels. It was still chunk jewelry out there. Just diamonds was still multiple chains at that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this was the early 90s.
Yeah, now people you'd see one chain on them. Back then it was 4 or 5 chains on your neck. You know what I mean? All diamond out and everything else. So it was a pretty. If you're gonna rob someone, you made a lot of money on that.
This is this is the time where the stick-up kid really came into his own. I mean, of course, the stick-up kids of the 70s, the 80s. The 80s, they was really going hard. The stick-up kid, if you don't know what a stick-up kid is, go look it up on Urban Dictionary. They were robbing drug dealers in the 80s. This was their time. But in the early 90s, it was hip to be a stick-up kid as well. In the 80s, they was doing it out of necessity. In the early 90s, it was transitioning into, I got to do this to get a rep. And to get a rep, you would hit the biggest target you could, to get that street dreams. You could get that street rep. And to say that you robbed Tupac, you know, you gotta put it as another theory. I personally don't believe that it was Biggie. I believe it was someone trying to get a rep, you know?
I hear you. I hear you. It quite possibly could be. And I even like, I'm telling you, people may say, you know, it was Biggie. It wasn't Big as Puff.
That's the
was
connection. People are always gonna connect because if Biggie didn't do it, but Puffy did it, then Biggie
It was
would have had to have known.
Yeah, it was P. I mean, but he ain't got nothing to do with it though. You know, it was P. This like, you know, I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, no one, you know, listen, I ain't trying to put no one in jail or anything like that. I don't know nothing about it. I have no, I'm just giving you my opinion of what I think. And if I had to pick and I look at the circumstance of everything, I think P had got that dude robbed. And I think these dudes just went a little bit too crazy and put some holes in them. And I don't think that was the initial plan or anything like that, but I think that's what most likely happened, man. I'm telling you, back then, man, this whole East Coast, West Coast thing, you know, it was bad. You know what I mean? Like when Big got shot and got killed, you know, I remember it. I remember I was living in Far Rockaway, New York.
Who doesn't remember that?
And I was in the basement apartment, and the Soul Train Music Awards went on. And I was with my kid's mom and my little daughter Charisma at the time was there, and we were watching it. And he went up on stage and he goes, "What up, Cali, 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 Cali?" That's what Biggie said. And I turned to my kid's mom. You could ask her, and I said, "He's gonna get shot tonight, fucking with these dudes. He shouldn't be out there clowning these dudes." I said that to her. She can tell you. And he got shot that night. And I knew it. I knew it when he said it. I seen it. I seen the way he was acting. I could just feel it. You know what I mean? Because, you know, it was just too much tension. There was no way he was going to survive. He should have never went out there. He should have never, ever went out there. It's a bad move. But
it was a bad business decision on Puffy's part to bring Big into the Cali market. I mean, they knew how dangerous it was. This is when Bloods and Crips were ruling the airwaves. This is after gangster rap with the NWA and all them, you know, were doing their thing. And then Tupac took the mantle from Ice Cube and Dr. Dre and them in the NWA. He took the mantle from Cali, for Cali.
Yeah, because it was like, I'm going to tell you straight up, I don't like Snoop Dogg. I hate Snoop Dogg. And the reason why I don't like Snoop Dogg is because I don't forgive him for making the song about New York. I don't. And I don't think that he really got his just desserts for doing that. You know what I mean? In all honesty, he's the one who made off scot-free in this whole situation. But he's the one who made the song New York, New York, Big City of Dreams. And the only people that came back to him were the motherfucking dudes from Queens, Tragedy, Gaddafi, and Mobb Deep, and them made that song L.A., L.A. You know what I mean? And it was it. When he did that video, Snoop Dogg was kicking over the project buildings. And his video shoot got shot up for doing that shit. But he's the one who walked away scot-free in this whole situation. And he was the one with the biggest fucking mouth out of everyone, Snoop Dogg. You know, but when this whole shit was going down, I mean, Double XL magazine, all these magazines, they have a lot of responsibility to hosting the feud. It was Suge Knight coming on stage at a Soul Train Music Awards, dissing Puff Daddy, saying, "Hey, if you want to have someone who produces, you don't want to have the producer dancing and all up in your video, doing all that, then come to Death Row." And then Snoop Dogg getting on stage saying, "What? New York ain't got no love for Snoop Dogg? Then fuck New York. We ain't got no love for y'all." You know, it's Snoop Dogg and them niggas that really talk shit. And they the ones who should have got it instead of Pac and Big, because they were the ones who was really pushing that whole shit the most. And the thing was with Tupac over Snoop. Snoop was a good rapper and everything else, but Snoop wasn't a star. You know what I mean? Tupac was a fucking star.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that was the whole thing. Snoop is a star right now in his older age. But Pac was a star back then. You know, he's doing movies. He was doing everything. Pac was a star. You know what I mean? And he was the one who really sold it on Death Row. And he is the one that everybody followed and everything else. You know what I mean? It was all about Pac. And no, we lost the two heads. We lost the two worst people to lose. We lost. You know what I mean? And it's sad that we lost them both, and and everything else. But back to the Funkmaster Flex thing. Him saying that Funkmaster Flex is a fucking bird. He's always been a fucking bird. He's just a piece of shit. He's got to watch his fucking mouth before someone comes in his studio and stomps his old ass. It doesn't mean anything to be on the radio like it used to. And he's still trying to make himself relevant. Like, I remember he was saying before, he was talking some shit about J-Lo. Like, oh, we already had that. That ain't no big deal. My man Puff smashed that already. Who are you? Puff had it. What the fuck that got to do with you, nigga?
Mm-hmm.
You ain't had shit. He always trying to ride a nigga nuts. You know what I
He
mean?
tries to ride other people's fame.
Yeah, this fucking fat Master Flex pussy ass nigga. You know what I mean? So he could say what the fuck he want and everything else, but that's why he gonna get dealt with. He better watch himself, man. These streets is real, man. It's real in these streets, and that's the difference between dealing with rap music and rock and roll and R&B. These rap dudes will really come kick your ass, man.
Let me read the other quotes that he said on Twitter. The beef was Pac got robbed because he did the wrong New York cats dirty, Flex begins to say. He was scared of them, so he blamed Biggie. Those were Pac's friends. Pac been running with them and knew they were looking for him, which is why he had a pistol. From there, Funk also added that he caught amnesia on the dudes that was holding him down when he came to NY, referring to the whole situation as a classic case of an out-of-town nigga wanting to be accepted and got in too deep and couldn't dig his way out of the new city he was hanging in. So basically, he's saying Tupac was an out-of-town nigga who got in too deep in a situation and said Tupac is a made-up superhero. That's how he ended the Twitter conversation last month.
Listen, number one, Tupac and they're from the Bronx, all right? As I said, my stepfather Royce is first cousins with Afeni. It was my stepfather Royce that was in the Black Panthers. He's the one who put Afeni in the Black Panthers. He was the one she used to go to and watch the Black Panthers with him. When they moved to California, it was my stepfather Royce that gave him his pickup truck so that they could move out there to California. All right, so they're from the Bronx originally. That's where they from. Afeni and everyone. They all from the Bronx and that shit. So Pac, a New York nigga who just happened to move to the West Coast. So
he came to Baltimore first. People from Baltimore, D.C. area always got to add that in. They left the Bronx. They came to Baltimore during his middle school years. He went to Duke Ellington School for the Arts. That's how he met Jada Pinkett Smith. That's how him and Jada became cool, because they went to the same art school in Baltimore. That's where she learned to act. And that's where Tupac learned everything he learned to become Tupac, man. And then he went to the West Coast. They both actually went to the West Coast. She went and became an actress. Tupac,
that would have been his piece if he was alive. That would have been his woman. I mean, he was dating Quincy Jones's daughter too. So it would have been one of them. Probably would have wound up married.
But Jada was like his love.
Yeah, that was his piece and stuff like that. It would have been no Will Smith or nothing like that. But Pac had that charm, that appeal, that star. Yeah, it. When you have it, there's no need to explain it. You can't explain it. You don't know what it is. It's just it. It just works. And he had that. So Funkmaster saying that this dude's a made-up superstar. He's the West Coast Biggie Smalls. These are two dudes who are mortars for the hip-hop industry, for a West Coast, East Coast rivalry. These are the guys who fell. You know what I mean? And the Source,
Double XL, all these magazines, fueled the fire. Because who didn't read these magazines? I used to have a stack of Source magazines under my bed, man, in the 90s. I used to just love it, with all my CDs, with my Walkman, flipping through Source magazine, reading the next article about Big Pun, what was going on with Biggie's new album, watching, looking at the covers of Little Kim, Total, 112. Puffy had Bad Boy Records going, man, and Mary J. Blige. R&B
Man,
was
oh
so
my god.
sweet, man. It was so
My
sweet in the 90s, man.
and my life would have been so much different, I swear to God. I had so many different opportunities that I should have came out with something back then. I was on the cusp at so many different times and stuff, but there's no doubt that if Pac would have lived, then I definitely would have rolled with him, and I would have probably been on one of them songs, this and Biggie Smalls, without a doubt. There's no doubt in my mind that definitely would. Because if I would have met him at that reunion, I know that out of everybody in that reunion, me and him would have clicked the most. Because it's from my mentality, the way I act, from what his mother has said to me and stuff like that after he died and everything else. She was like, yeah, my son would have loved you. Y'all would have been best friends, yeah. Yeah, she said, when I hear you speak and I hear you talk, it reminds me of him and stuff like that, she used to say. So, there's no doubt about it, you know what I mean? It's fucked up.
Yeah.
That happened and stuff to that dude and everything else, you know what I mean? But it is what it is, but Funkmaster Flex, man, shame on you, son. Shame on you for talking about the dead in a bad name. And,
He's just trying to keep himself relevant. You got all these hip-hop people, T.I., Tretch, everybody is clowning him for talking bad about the dead,
you're gonna get your ass kicked, son. Someone really gonna fuck you up, son.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's gonna happen in the end. Someone's gonna beat you up, man. You're gonna get beat up. Someone's gonna see you leaving the studio, and you're gonna have to run to your car because dudes is gonna kick your ass, man. That's the way it was back then. I mean, I remember we had beef. You know what I mean? I remember having beef with my friend the Bleach Brothers. They were signed with 25 to Life. They were running with Tragedy Gaddafi, and Noriega was down with 25 to Life. And Noriega left Tragedy Gaddafi and them, and he came out with what? And when he came out with that, he was supposed to be down with 25 to Life, but he bounced and started running like this Spanish shit. Like, oh, I'm running with my Spanish, my Latinos, and started running with Fat Joe and Big Pun. And
the beat
Traj didn't. Yeah, and Traj didn't like that because he was like, "Yo, we the ones who put you on. Now that you got a hit, you should be doing joints with us so we can get our name up." But Nori wasn't trying to do it, and he dissed my peoples. I remember he made the song. I forgot the actual line, but he said something like, blah, 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 you ain't nothing but nerds, and now you're hanging out with two dirty white birds. And that was the Bleach Brothers he was talking about when he did that. And I remember going to the studio and having to have the hammer on us every time we went to the studio because we didn't know if dudes was going to run up in the studio or who was going to come in there. And I remember going through that, you know what I mean? I'm like, damn, we just really just trying to make music, and you trying to make music and you got to bring the hammer with you to the fucking studio.
That's crazy. That's just crazy.
That's what it was back then. You know what I mean? That's the way it was because you just didn't know what was going to happen, who was going to run up in your session. Like I told you earlier, you know what I mean? Old Dirty Bastard stuck his head up in there. You just didn't know who was going to run up in your shit, and shit would just go down. Dudes would try to stick you up or rob you in your session. And yeah, when you look at it, you're just trying to make a fucking song, man, in actuality. But it could turn into something else. And that's what it was, and that's what it became, you know what I mean? And 50 Cent rode that whole wave to superstar.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he rode that whole situation because when 50 came out after that, he was with Onyx. And I could do a whole thing. This is getting off topic, but I could tell a whole different story. But Onyx, you know what I mean? My friend, my ex-girlfriend's brother was in that group. His name was Tech Nine. His real name was Booby. That's why if you hear Throw Your Guns in the Air, that's when they came out, Sticky Fingers says, I got the Tech Nine. But I heard the original version of the song really goes, I'm down with Tech Nine. So what the fuck you want, boy? Buck. But they kicked Booby out the group, Tech Nine. They kicked him out the group at that time. And this is how all the beef started. And 50 Cent was in, if you look at his first song, he was in the React song with Onyx. And if you look at the video, you see 50 Cent, he's wearing a hockey uniform. I think he's the Goldie in it and shit. And that was his first thing. And he was running with Jam Master Jay and everything else because Onyx was signed with Def Jam when they came out. So that was the whole connection there and everything else. But I ain't going to get into all that. I got stories about that too. Maybe in a later date in the podcast.
We
can talk all about
we
that.
definitely got a bunch of hip hop stories we're gonna be telling. We're gonna have a segment for it. I just came into my head. I kind of feel it. You know, we're gonna do, you know, the hip hop tales from the hood. You know, if y'all want to hear more stories of hip hop tales in the hood, let us know in the comments section. Just tell us what y'all feel in the comments section. What y'all feeling about our podcast, man? It's the review chance.
I got mad stories because it's like I may not have came out or whatever and all that, but I was right there and I met a lot of people and I know a lot of dudes and I was in a lot of studio sessions with a lot of different heads that y'all would consider famous, but to me they're just regular dudes just spitting lyrics and shit. You know what I mean? Nas, AZ. All these people, you know what I mean? I was around all. I mean, I remember when they were just doing the firm, how the whole firm came about. I remember all that. I remember everything. Met all them dudes. Been around all them dudes. Been in strip clubs with all these people. R-Ray the Rugged Man. All these people. Been around all of them. You know, R-Ray. I could tell you a billion stories about R-Ray.
We definitely gonna put that in a segment.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But you know who it is. It's Don, Tony, Teflon, Mo, Genie. We the review champs. And if you like the way we do this, please don't this. Please spread this across the realm and please subscribe. And until next time, you know who it is. Peace and stay sexy. The review champs.
Mo, Genie.
I will not eat out.
Don, Tony, Teflon, Mo, Genie.
Target acquired. Cannons primed. I will not eat out. Scanning for real threats.
Don, Tony, Teflon, Mo, Genie.
I will not eat out.
You champs.